Hello, my name is Evan Morris, and I'm a data scientist for the Office of Standards and Evaluations. Today, I'm going to be demoing the Reportable Marine Casualties, Spills by Volume, Port Calls, and Container Inspections ArcGIS Experience. This experience will help you understand and go through reportable marine casualties and other data. The most important thing to notice is the center map interface, where you can basically see our entire corpus of data visually. Now, at the top left, you can zoom in, which you can use to go to a specific area. And one of the first things you'll notice is that the metrics and graphics we have that are adjacent to the map will change based on what's in view. The other thing is, on top of this map, you'll basically see 4 tabs. One, the base map gallery. This will allow you to pick the visualization of the map that you find most aesthetically pleasing. The second is the map itself, which has all the reportable marine casualties. The third will basically look at all the casualties that are in view. Now, this will change based on how zoomed in or zoomed out you are. In this case, we could zoom into a very specific area in District 8, and we'll notice that the casualties in view have changed to now highlight the 769 that we're looking at. Last, there's the casualty data tab at the far right, and this data tab will exist for all of the pages that we'll go through, the spills by volume and port calls and container inspections. This includes the entire corpus of data that we can download. So if we go to this, one thing I want to point to is the legend at the bottom left of the interface. This will show us the different causal events for reportable marine casualties. And another important aspect is if we click on a given reportable marine casualty, we'll have a pop-up that comes and shows us the details for a given event. Now, for each reportable marine casualty, there'll be an involved vessel tab that shows us the involved vessel information. We can go to some events like collisions, which will have multiple involved vessels, and this will give us public information about the vessel and the accident. Now, let's say that we want to look at this data, but we know that we specifically want to look at only major casualties and only certain vessels. This is where the filters come in. So I'm going to zoom out. I'll exit out of this. And we are going to go through the actual ability to filter. In this case, let's just look at major marine casualties. And we're going to see that the data points decrease dramatically. And let's just look at some specific vessels. Let's look at those that are classified as fishing vessels, offshore vessels, and bulk carriers. And now we see we have a much more narrow data set, but this also allows us to really refine what we're looking for. One thing that's important is, for each filter, at the bottom of the filter, we have the option to reset. This little trash icon with a check mark. We click it, and it will give us all of our unfiltered data. Now, there's multiple filters for this. In this case, we have the classification of the incident, the reportable marine casualty. We have the primary vessel class that's involved. We have a time frame filter. We can go through, pick a specific start date, pick a specific end date, the district, and then the initial event classification type. Now, this is pretty important because this is where we're going to look in. If you want to look at collisions, material failure, flooding, grounding, this will help narrow in on the type of casualty that the Coast Guard was dealing with. Last but not least, we have a district shape filter, which just shows what the area of responsibility for each district looks like as a shape file. The other tabs will be very similar. the spills by volume will show just a subset of reportable marine casualties. The difference being is this will be a heat map based on the amount of oil or the amount of hazardous materials spilled, where the larger footprint designates a much larger amount that's spilled. Similarly, there's going to be filters, time frame, primary class involved. There will be some differences, obviously, because we're dealing with a density map. We're going to look at the oil amount spilled and the chemical amount spilled. Now the tabs at the top of the map are the same, where we have base map gallery, spills in view, and then the entire corpus of data we can download. One important functionality that I want to point to is if you hover over the metrics, it will give you the more granular details. Lastly, we have our SANS port arrivals. In our container inspections, these are both done as density graphs, where since there's a high number of arrivals and container inspections that occur in a specific area, when based on how zoomed out or zoomed in you are basically able to see how these arrivals look for a given geographic area. And if you click on a point, here there's 16,000, you could actually go through and browse the 16,000 SANS port arrivals that are occurring in this given time frame. Again, we have our filters here, which this will be standard in terms of time frame being across all the different pages. In this case, this has supports, the primary hazardous type, and then similarly with container inspections, we will have a density graph that disaggregates the more we zoom in, and we will have our filters for the containers here, and then our filters for the port arrivals here. If you have any questions, you can go to this info tab at the top right for some cursory information. And then here there's a data dictionary that you can actually look at what each field means in this experience. Thank you.